The Power of Music by Shukumar Ray. When the summer comes, we hear the hums Vishma Lochan Sharma. Meaning, in the summer, Vishmalochan Sharma's singing can be heard far and wide as his loud voice resonates across the land. Vishmalochan Sharma's singing can be heard far and wide as his loud voice resonates across the land. Next, you catch his strain on hill and plain from Delhi down to Burma. Meaning, Vishma's singing is so powerful that it can be heard over great distances from the plains of Delhi and as far as Burma. Vishma's singing is so powerful that it can be heard over great distances from plains of Delhi to Burma. He sings as though he has staked his life. He sings as though he is hell bent. He sings as though he has staked his life. He sings as though he is hell bent. Mane, Vishma sings with immense intensity and passion, as if his very life depends on it, showing his determination and dedication. Vishma sings with immense intensity and passion, as if his very life depends on it, showing his determination and dedication. Next, number 4, sentence number 4. The people dazed, retired, amazed, although they know it's well meant. Mane, the people who hear him are shocked and stunned by the force of his singing. Although he understands, he means well. They cannot handle the overwhelming power of his music. Next, they are trampled in the panic rout or languish pale and sickly. The audience is so distressed by his singing that they either try to flee in panic or feel physically sick and exhausted from the experience. The audience is so distressed by his singing that they either try to flee in panic or feel physically sick and exhausted from the experience. Next, sentence number 6. And plead, my friend, we are near our end. Oh, stop your singing quickly. So, in desperation, people beg Bhishma to stop singing, saying that they are at the verge of collapse due to the overwhelming sound. In desperation, people কি করে beg Bhishma to stop singing, saying that they are at the verge of collapse due to the overwhelming sound. Number 7, the bullock carts are overturned and horses line the roadside. এটার মানে even animals are affected by Bhishma's singing. Bullock carts are overturned and horses stand motionless by the side of the road, stunned by the loudness. But Bhishmalochan, next sentence number 8, but Bhishmalochan unconcerned goes booming out his broadside. Mane, despite the chaos around him, Vishma is completely unaware of the distress he is causing and continues singing with full force. Next, sentence number 9. The wretched brutes resent the blare the hour they hear it sounded. Mane, the animals referred to as wretched brutes deeply resent the loud and obnoxious sound of his singing whenever they hear it. কি করে? The animals referred to as wretched brutes deeply resent the loud and obnoxious sound. Wretched ব্রুটরা তার খুব দুঃখ পায়, deeply resent the loud and noxious sound of his singing whenever they hear it. They whine and stare with feet in air or wander quite confounded. The animals react in confusion. Some whine, while others lie with their feet in the air, bewildered and unsure of what to do in response to the unbearable sound. The animals react in confusion. Some whine, while others lie with their feet in the air, bewildered and unsure to do uh, unsure of what to do in response to the unbearable sound. The fishes dived below the lake in frantic search for silence. Even the fish in water are not separated. They dive deep into the lake in a desperate attempt to escape the noise and find peace. Even the fish in water are not spared. Tarao, they dive deep into the lake in a desperate attempt to escape the noise and find peace. The very trees, next sentence number 12. The very trees collapse and shake. You hear the crash a mile hence. The trees themselves seem to fall and shake under the force of Vishma's singing, and the crashing sound is heard from miles away. And in the sky, the feathered fly turn turtle while they are winging. Birds flying in the sky are so disoriented by the noise that they flip upside down, unable to maintain their flight. কি বলছে birds flying in the sky are so disoriented by the noise that they flip upside down, unable to maintain their flight. এবার again we cry, we are going to die. Oh, won't you stop your singing? Once again, people cry out in desperation, believing that they are going to die if Vishma does not stop singing. Sentence number 15. Vishma's soared beyond our reach. Vishma had soared beyond our reach. However, we would plead and grumble. Vishma remains oblivious of the suffering to the suffering around him. Remains oblivious to the suffering around him. He is so caught up in his singing that the pleas and complaints of others do not affect him. He is so caught up in his singing that the pleas and complaints of others do not affect him. The Welkin weeps to hear his, now sentence number 16, the Welkin weeps to hear his screech, and mighty mansions tremble. Mane the heaven itself or the sky itself seem to cry in response to his screeching voice. The sky or the heaven themselves seem to cry in response to his screeching voice, and even large buildings collapse due to the destructive force of his singing. But now here comes a billy goat, a most sagacious fellow. At this point, sentence number 17, but now there comes a billy goat, a most sagacious fellow. At this point, a wise and clever billy goat appears. This goat represents a solution to the chaos. The boat brings a solution to the chaos caused by Vishma's singing. How he brings, let's see how he brings the solution. Sentence number 18. He downs his horns and charges straight with bellow answering bellow. The billy goat lowers its horns, charges directly at Vishma, responding to Vishma's bellowing song with its own forceful attack. It responding to Vishma's bellowing song with his own forceful attack. Charges directly at Bhishma with lowers his horns and charges directly at Bhishma, responding to Bhishma's bellowing song with its own forceful attack. Number 19. The strains of song are tossed and whirled by blast of brutal violence. Mane, the force of the billy goat's attack disrupts Bhishma's singing. His song is tossed and whirled, meaning it is broken up and scattered by physical impact. The song is tossed and whirled, meaning it is broken up and scattered by the physical impact. And Vishmalochan grants the world the precious gift of silence, which is presented as a relief and as a blessing. Vishma's singing is silenced and the world is granted the precious gift of silence, which is presented as a relief and a blessing. তাহলে কি হলো? যখন সামার আসে তখন আমরা ভীষ্মলোচন শর্মার সিঙ্গিং শুনতে পাই ফার আর ওয়াইড থেকে, আর ওর লাউড ভয়েসটা রেজোনেট করে অ্যাক্রস দ্য ল্যান্ড। তারপর কি হয়, ভীষ্মার সিঙ্গিং এত পাওয়ারফুল যে ইট ক্যান বি হার্ড ওভার গ্রেট ডিস্টেন্সেস ফ্রম প্লেন্স অফ দিল্লি to as far as Burma. এত পাওয়ারফুল ওর গান যে ও গ্রেট ডিস্টেন্সে ও শোনা যায় দিল্লি থেকে বার্মা অব্দি। তারপরও বলছে কি, Bhishma sings with immense intensity and passion as if his very life depends on it, showing his determination and dedication. এই যে he sings as though his staked his life, he sings as though he's hell-bent, মানে Bhishma sings with immense intensity and passion as if his life depends on it, showing his determination and dedication. ও হচ্ছে ভীষ্ম হচ্ছে ইমেন্স ইন্টেন্সিটি নিয়ে গান গায় আর প্যাশন নিয়ে গান গায়, এমনই হয় যেন লাইফ ডিপেন্ড করছে ওটার উপর। আর এটা কি প্রুফ করে, ডিটারমিনেশন আর ডেডিকেশন অফ, মনে হয় যেন শোয়িং ডিটারমিনেশন অ্যান্ড ডেডিকেশন, বাট পিপল আর লিস্ট ইন্টারেস্টেড টু লিসেন টু হিজ সং। যাই হোক, নেক্সট, the people who hear him are shocked and stunned by the force of his singing. যারাই তারা ও গান শোনে, এই যে dazed, retire, amazed, মানে shocked and stunned, stunned, stunned by the force of his singing, and they leave the place, they go away, run away from the place. Although they understand he means well, মানে although they understand that his songs are harmless, still they cannot handle the overwhelming power of his music. যদিও তারা জানে যে ওর গান হচ্ছে হার্মলেস, তবুও ওরা ওর ওভারওয়েলমিং পাওয়ার অফ ভয়েসটা সহ্য করতে পারে না, দে ক্যানট হ্যান্ডেল দ্য ওভারওয়েলমিং পাওয়ার অফ হিস ভয়েস। তারপর দি অডিয়েন্স ইজ সো ডিস্ট্রেসড বাই হিজ সিঙ্গিং দ্যাট, অডিয়েন্স এত ডিস্ট্রেসড ওর গানের জ্বালায় যে দে ইদার ট্রাই টু ফ্লি ইন প্যানিক, তারা হয় প্যানিক স্ট্রিকেন হয়ে পালাতে চায়, অর ফিল ফিজিক্যালি সিক অ্যান্ড এক্সস্টেড ফ্রম দি এক্সপিরিয়েন্স, কিংবা or feel physically sick, physically খুব sick feel করেন, exhausted from the experience এবং exhausted feel করে। In desperation people beg Bhishma to stop singing, people ভীষ্মকে বলে মানে গান থামাতে, saying that they are on the verge of collapse due to overwhelming sound, তারা বলে যে তারা verge of collapse এ ওর তা বিচ্ছিরি ওভারওয়েলমিং গানের জন্য। Even the animals are affected by Bhishma's singing, অ্যানিমেলরাও affected ভীষ্মর গানের জ্বালায়। bullock carts are overturned, bullock cart উল্টে যায়, horses stand motionless by the side of the road, stunned by the loudness, হর্সেসরাও stunned by the loudness, এত stunned by the loudness যে they stand motionless by the side of the road. Bhishma, despite the chaos around him, Bhishma is completely unaware of the distress he is causing and continues singing with full force. যতই কেওস থাকুক তার চারদিকে, ভীষ্মা হচ্ছে কমপ্লিটলি আনঅ্যাওয়্যার অফ দ্য ডিস্ট্রেস, এই ডিস্ট্রেস সম্পর্কেও আনঅ্যাওয়্যার, হি ইজ কজিং অ্যান্ড কন্টিনিউ সিঙ্গিং উইথ ফুল ফোর্স, এবং ডিস্ট্রেস কমপ্লিটলি আনঅ্যাওয়্যার অফ দ্য ডিস্ট্রেস হি ইজ কজিং অ্যান্ড কন্টিনিউ সিঙ্গিং উইথ ফুল ফোর্স, এবং ও একভাবে গান গাইতে থাকে। The wretched brutes resent the blare hour they hear it sounded. The animals referred to as wretched brutes deeply resent the loud and obnoxious sound of the singing whenever they hear it. এই যে অ্যানিমালস গুলো, বেচারা অ্যানিমালস গুলো deeply resent the loud and obnoxious sound of his singing whenever they hear it. তারা resent করে এই লাউড অবনক্সিয়াস সাউন্ড অফ হিজ সিঙ্গিং যখনই তারা শোনে। দি অ্যানিমালস রিয়াক্ট ইন কনফিউশন, অ্যানিমালরা কনফিউজড হয়ে রিয়াক্ট করে। সাম হোয়াইন while others lie with their feet in the air. সাম হোয়াইন, কেউ কেউ চেঁচায়, while others lie with their feet in the air, পা দুটোকে ওপরে তুলে রাখে। bewildered and unsure of what to do in response to the unbearable sound, বুঝতে পারে না যে আনবেয়ারেবল সাউন্ডে কি করবে। এবার বলছি, ইভেন দ্য ফিশ ইন দ্য ওয়াটার নট স্পেয়ার্ড, যারা মাছ আছে জলে তারাও মুক্তি পায় না। দে ডাইভ ডিপ ইনটু দ্য লেক ইন আ ডেসপারেট অ্যাটেম্প্ট টু এসকেপ দ্য নয়েজ অ্যান্ড ফাইন্ড পিস, যারা জলে আছে তারাও মুক্তি পায় না, তারা আরো ডিপ লেকের ভেতর যায় না, ডেসপারেট অ্যাটেম্প্ট রাখে টু এসকেপ দ্য নয়েজ অ্যান্ড ফাইন্ড পিস, যাতে নয়েজ থেকে মুক্তি পায়। দ্য ট্রিজ দেমসেলস সিম টু ফল অ্যান্ড শেক, গাছগুলো মনে হয় যেন পড়ে যাবে। আন্ডার দ্য ফোর্স অফ ভীষ্মার সিঙ্গিং, ভীষ্মর সিঙ্গিং এ পড়ে যাবে মনে হয়। দ্য ক্র্যাশিং সাউন্ড ইজ হার্ড ফ্রম মাইলস অ্যাওয়ে, এই যে ট্রিগুলো যে পড়ে যায় সেগুলো সাউন্ড বহু মাইল দূর থেকে শোনা যায়। Birds flying in the sky are so disoriented by the noise that they flip upside down, unable to maintain their flight. বার্ডসরা স্কাইতে এত ডিসওরিয়েন্টেড বাই দ্য সাউন্ড, বাই দ্য অবনক্সিয়াস সাউন্ড, যে দে ফ্লিপ আপসাইড ডাউন, উল্টো দিকে উল্টো হয়ে যায়, আনএবল টু মেনটেন দেয়ার ফ্লাইট, উড়তে না পেরে উল্টে যায়। They flip, the birds flying in the sky are so disoriented by the noise that they flip upside down, unable to maintain their flight. এরপর কি, once again people cry out in desperation, আবার মানুষ কাঁদে, again we cry, we are going to die, oh won't you stop your singing. তো people আবার cry out in desperation, believing that they are going to die if Bhishma doesn't stop his singing. Bhishma remains oblivious to the suffering around him, পাত্তা দেয় না। হি ইজ সো কট আপ ইন হিজ সিঙ্গিং দ্যাট দ্য প্লিজ অ্যান্ড কমপ্লেন্টস অফ আদার্স ডু নট এফেক্ট হিম। এত গান নিয়ে মত্ত থাকে যে তার বাকিদের যে কমপ্লেন্ট থাকে থাকে তাতে ওর কিছু যায় আসে না। দ্য ওয়েল কি, দ্য হ্যাভেন দেমসেলস সিম টু ক্রাই ইন রেসপন্স টু দ্য স্ক্রিচিং ভয়েস। এই যে হ্যাভেন যে ক্রাই করে ওর মানে স্ক্রিচিং ভয়েসে, রেসপন্স টু হিজ স্ক্রিচিং ভয়েস, ইভেন লার্জ বিল্ডিংস কোল্যাপস ডিউ টু দ্য ডিস্ট্রাকটিভ ফোর্স অফ হিজ সিঙ্গিং। যত যত বড় বিল্ডিং আছে তারাও কোল্যাপস করে যায় ডিউ টু ডিস্ট্রাকটিভ ফোর্স অফ হিজ সিঙ্গিং। অ্যাট দিস পয়েন্ট আ ওয়াইজ অ্যান্ড ক্লেভার বিলি গোট, এই সময় একটা ওয়াইজ আর ক্লেভার বিলি গোট অ্যাপিয়ার্স। দ্য গোট রিপ্রেজেন্টস আ সলিউশন টু দ্য কেওস কজড বাই ভীষ্মার সিঙ্গিং। একটা ক্লেভার বিলি গোট একটা কোনো সলিউশন দিচ্ছে এবার কেওস সিঙ্গিং এর। কেওস মানে রিপ্রেজেন্ট গিভস আ সলিউশন টু দ্য chaos caused by Bhishma's singing. কিভাবে দিল? The billy goat lowers its horns and charges directly at Bhishma, responding to Bhishma's bellowing song with its own forceful attack. It responds to the bellowing song of Bhishma, মানে ভীষ্মার গানটাকে বেলো অফ আ গোটের সাথে তুলনা করা হয়েছে, has been compared. The strains of songs are tossed and whirled by the blast of brutal violence. The force of Billy Goat's attack disrupts Vishma's singing. কিভাবে his song is tossed and whirled, meaning it is broken up and scattered by the physical impact being caused by the goat. Finally, Vishma's singing is silenced, and the world is granted the precious gift of silence, which is presented as relief and blessing. Next, the people dazed, retired, amazed, although they know it well, it's well meant. The line tells us about Bhishmalochan Sharma's singing was discordant. Discordant. এই লাইনটা এটা বোঝায় যে বিশ্বলোচন শর্মার গান হচ্ছে discordant. And the sky, the feathered fly turn turtle while they are winging. এটার মানে হচ্ছে turn upside down. ওদের ইয়ের বার্ডস গুলোর ফ্লাইট ওরা হচ্ছে আপসাইড ডাউন হয়ে যাচ্ছে। হোয়াট ডাজ দ্য ফ্রেজ প্যানিক রাউট ইমপ্লাই ইন দ্য পোয়েম? প্যানিক রাউট মানে হচ্ছে কেওটিক সিচুয়েশন। which is the geographical location mentioned in the poem The Power of Music? geographical location হচ্ছে দিল্লি আর বার্মা, এই দুটো জায়গার নাম উল্লেখ করা হয়েছে। which kind of poem is The Power of Music? লাইট হার্টেড, তারপর হচ্ছে কি বলে কমিক। Which of the following lines contains the same literary device as the one in the poem? The Wilkin weeps to hear his screech. এটা মানে because I could not stop for a death, he kindly stopped for me. এটার সাথে এই লাইনটার মিল আছে, because I could not stop for a death, he kindly stopped for me. যাই হোক, সিলেক্ট দ্য অপশন দ্যাট শোজ দ্য কারেক্ট রিলেশনশিপ বিটুইন দিস টু ক্যারেক্টার্স। এটা হচ্ছে অনলাইন নোটস থেকে করেছি, হ্যাঁ, না বুঝতে পারলে ওপেন ইট অ্যান্ড সি। Select the option that shows the correct relationship between the two statements. Visma sang very loudly and discordantly. আর তাই জন্য all were highly upset with his singing. So number one is the cause. Number one is the cause for number two. মানে all were highly upset with the singing, তার কারণ হচ্ছে Bhishma sang very loudly and discordantly. এবার and Vishmalochan grants the world the golden gift of silence. What does the line convey? এগুলো হচ্ছে workbook questions. The and Vishmalochan grants the world the golden gift of silence. What does the line convey? Sense of relief. Which poetic device used repeatedly in the poem creates humor? Hyperbole. Which of the statements is not true? Only the sky remains watching carelessly. এটা ভুল, বাকি সবগুলোই ঠিক। Human listeners cannot tolerate Visma's noisy singing, এটাও ঠিক। Animals to protest against Visma's noisy singing, এটাও ঠিক। Big trees and buildings collapse under the impact of Vishma's loud sound, এটাও ঠিক। In what state of mind are the human listeners? They are dazed. The satire in the poem is directed against bad loud singing. The Welkin weeps to hear his screech. Which literary device is used here? Personification. Select the option that shows the most funny event in the poem. Turning turtle of the flies. Most funny event in the poem. Turning turtles of the flies. সবচেয়ে হাসির। What kind of person was Vishmalochan Sharma? Stubborn. Which of these animals are pitied? Horses. Which of these collapse on hearing Visma's voice? Building and trees. How is Billy Goat described in the poem? Intelligent. Despite their irritation, people agree that the song is well meant. Vishmalochan Sharma কেমন, সে কেমন করে গান গায়? Vishmalochan Sharma is described as a very bad, irritatingly loud singer. He sings so loudly and discordantly that his voice resounds in the hills and in valleys from Delhi to Burma, as though he has staked his life on it, as if he is hell-bent. Bhishmalochan Sharma হচ্ছে described very bad, irritatingly loud singer হিসেবে। ও এত জোরে জোরে চিৎকার করে, he sings so loudly and discordantly that his voice resounds in the hills and valleys from Delhi to Burma. একদম গান দিল্লি থেকে বার্মা অব্দি ওর শোনা যায়, although he has staked his life on it, as if he is hell bent. Next, in lines 3 to 4, the poet uses a hyperbole. What is its purpose? In lines 3 and 4, where it is said that one can catch Vishmalochan Sharma's train from Delhi to Burma, the poet uses hyperbole. The purpose of this hyperbole is in consonance with the form of the poem, and it has intended effect. Its intended effect is comical, adding to the humor. Exaggeration, hyperbole money exaggeration. So the purpose of this hyperbole is in consonance with the form of the poem, and it has been used to give comical and humorous effect to the poem. What kind of person is Vishma? Vishma is depicted as a stubborn fellow who is hell bent on singing. He is unconcerned and not bothered about anyone or any complaints, protests, or requests regarding his singing, caring only about his singing itself. He is represented as an eccentric singer, eccentric, eccentric singer. How are people affected by his song as revealed later in his context? As revealed later, people are so dazed by Vishma's song that they retire amazed, even though they know it well meant. They run away in panic, leading to a stampede where they get trampled or they languish pale and stickly from listening to the ruckus sound continuously. He will say, as revealed earlier, people are so dazed by Vishma's song that they even retire amazed, even though they know it is well meant. Mane, although they know that it is harmless, tao tara retire. They are dazed by Vishma's song and they retire amazed. They run away in panic, leading to a stampede. মানে একজন আরেকজনের এতে পা দিয়ে ধরে দেয়, where they get trampled মানে পড়ে যায়, leading to a stampede where they get trampled, or they languish pale and sickly from listening to the raucous sound continuously. What do they plead with Vishma? Does he listen to them, or if not, why? The people plead with Vishma, saying, my friend, we are near our end. Oh, stop your singing quickly and let her cry. We are going to die. Oh, won't you stop singing? However, Vishma does not listen to them. He does not listen because he is stubborn and eccentric fellow, hell bent on singing, unconcerned by their pleas, and pays no heed to their requests or complaints, continues to sing. তাহলে কি বলছে? The people plead with Vishma singing, বলে দেয়, না উই হিয়ার আর এন্ড, ও স্টপ ইউর সিঙ্গিং কুইকলি অ্যান্ড ল্যাটার ক্রাই, এবং বলে মানুষ বলে আর কি, উই আর গোয়িং টু ডাই, ও ওয়ন্ট ইউ স্টপ সিঙ্গিং। হাউএভার ভীষ্ম ডাজ নট লিসেন টু দেম, ভীষ্ম ওদের কথা শোনে না। হি ডাজ নট লিসেন বিকজ হি স্টাবার্ন অ্যান্ড এক্সেন্ট্রিক ফেলো আর হেল বেন্ট অন সিঙ্গিং। ও স্টাবার্ন, এক্সেন্ট্রিক ফেলো আর হেল বেন্ট অন সিঙ্গিং, আনকনসার্নড বাই দেয়ার প্লিজ। ওদের যে এত যে ওরা প্লি করছে কিছু যায় আসে না, পেজ নো হিট টু দেয়ার রিকোয়েস্ট, কোনো রিকোয়েস্টে পাত্তা দিচ্ছে না, ওর কমপ্লেইনস কন্টিনিউইং টু সিং, ওদের রিকোয়েস্ট কমপ্লেইন কোনো কিছুই শুনছে না, কন্টিনিউ গান গেয়ে যাচ্ছে। নেক্সট, give evidence to prove that Bhishma's song was nothing but a nuisance. Evidence from the poem proving Bhishma's music was nuisance includes the fact that people are dazed and amazed. They got trampled in a panic rout or would languish pale and sickly. Furthermore, they pleaded with him, saying they were near their end and begged him to stop his singing quickly. His singing is described as an irritatingly loud and bad sound that has an adverse impact on the listeners. তাহলে কি বলছে? Evidence from the poem proving Vishma's music was are the first is nuisance include the fact that first nuisance টা কি? People were dazed and amazed, they were trampled in panic rout or would languish pale and sickly. Furthermore, they pleaded with him, saying they were near their end and begged him to stop his singing quickly. His singing is described as an irritatingly loud and bad sound that had an adverse effect on singers. They pleaded with him, saying they were near their end. তারা একদম শেষ কিনারে পৌঁছে গেছে। Begged him to stop his singing quickly. একদম চুপ করতে বলল। His singing is described as an irritatingly loud and bad sound. Singing পুরো irritatingly bad sound মনে হয়েছে ওদের, had an adverse impact on the listeners. Next, what do people plead to Bhishma? People plead to Bhishma saying, my friend, we are near our end. Oh, stop your singing quickly. পরের লাইন, explain the line we are near our end. The line we are near our end means that the people have lost their patience with Bhishma's singing, given that they are trampled or languish. They get trampled, they languish, pale and sickly. It also suggests that they feel they are suffering greatly and can no longer bear his music. What do people want? People want Bhishma to stop his singing quickly, as expressed in their plea. They desire silence from his irritatingly loud voice. Who else besides humans are affected by Bhisma's singing now? Beside humans, Bhisma's singing also badly affected animals, plants, and even inanimate objects in the sky. Bhismar গান অ্যানিম্যাল প্লান্ট আর ইনঅ্যানিমেট অবজেক্টকে এফেক্ট করবে। বুলক কার্টস আর ওভারটার্ন, বুলক কার্ট ওভারটার্ন হয়ে যাবে, হর্সেস লাইন দ্য রোড সাইড, হর্সেস রোড সাইডে লাইন করবে। রিফিউজ টু ওয়ার্ক, ক্রাই আউট ইন পেইন, ওরা রিফিউজ করবে কাজ করতে, দিল ক্রাই আউট ইন পেইন। স্টেয়ার, রেইজ দেয়ার ফিট ইন দি এয়ার, তারা তাকিয়ে থাকবে, পা তুলে দেবে ওপরের দিকে। অ্যান্ড ওয়ান্ডার কোয়াইট কনফাউন্ডেড, অ্যান্ড ওয়ান্ডার কোয়াইট কনফাউন্ডেড। ফিশ কি করবে? ফিশ ডাইভ বিলো দ্য লেক ইন আ ফ্র্যান্টিক সার্চ ফর সাইলেন্স, ওরা একদম ডাইভ ডিপ করবে আর সাইলেন্স খোঁজার জন্য ফ্র্যান্টিক সার্চ করবে সাইলেন্সের জন্য। ট্রিজ কোল্যাপস অ্যান্ড শেক উইথ ক্র্যাশ হার্ড আ মাইল হেন্স, ট্রিজ কোল্যাপস করবে আর দে উইল শেক উইথ ক্র্যাশ, আর দ্য ক্র্যাশিং সাউন্ড উইল বি হার্ড ফ্রম আ মাইল। Birds referred to as feathered fly turn turtle while winging, lose control of their wings. মানে birds fly upside down. Everything become topsy-turvy actually. The wilkin of the sky weeps to hear his screech, and mighty mansions tumble. The mighty mansions they tumble. Our sky weeps to hear his screech. In what way does the poet describe the impact of loud jarring music? The poet describes the impact of loud jarring music humorously, using exaggeration and hyperbolic situations. The situations are made up and the exaggeration adds to the humor, creating a comical effect and humorous atmosphere to appeal to the reader's mind. এটা কমিক্যাল আর হিউমারাস এফেক্ট তৈরি করছে যেটা অ্যাপিল করছে রিডারদের মাইন্ডে। দ্য পোয়েট ডিসক্রাইবস দ্য ইম্প্যাক্ট অফ লাউড জ্যারিং মিউজিক হিউমারাসলি, using exaggeration and hyperbolic situations. What happens to bullock cart and horses? What literary device is used by the poet in describing the event? Due to Bhishma's singing, the bullock carts are overturned, horses line the roadside refuse to work, and the wretched brutes resent the blare, whinnying, staring with feet in air, or wandering quite confounded. Horses line the roadside refuse to work, and the wretched brutes resent the blare, whinnying, staring with feet in air, or wandering quite confounded, crying out in pain. বুলক কার্টগুলো ওভারটার্ন হয়ে যায়, হর্স লাইন দ্য রোড সাইড, তারা রিফিউজ করে কাজ করতে যায়, রেচেড ব্রুটস রিজেন্ট দ্য ব্লেয়ার, উইনিং স্টেয়ারিং উইথ ফিট ইন এয়ার, ওয়ান্ডারিং কোয়াইট কনফাউন্ডেড, crying out in pain. A literary device used by the poet in describing these events include hyperbole to emphasize the extreme effects and personification, as the horses are described as resenting the blare and behaving like humans in their distress. তাহলে দুটো ধরনের ফিগার অফ স্পিচ ব্যবহার আছে। ওয়ান ইজ হাইপারবোল টু এমফাসাইজ দ্য এক্সট্রিম এফেক্টস, আর আরেকটা হচ্ছে পার্সনিফিকেশন, তার কারণ হর্সেস আর ডিসক্রাইবড অ্যাজ রিজেন্টিং দ্য ব্লেয়ার and behaving like humans in their distress. Who are wretched brutes? Why do they behave abnormally? The wretched brutes referred to are animals, specifically horses. They behave abnormally because they resent the blare of Bhishma's singing. The moment they hear his sound, his loud, unpleasant singing causes them to cry out in pain. They stare, they raise their feet in the air and wonder what is happening. Explain the last two lines. The last two lines. They দুটো last line কে explain করো. They whine and stare with feet in air or wonder quite confounded. Describe the reaction of the horses to Bhishma's singing. কি they cry out, which is cry out টাকে whine বলছে। Look around in confusion or stare. Stare মানে look around in confusion. Possibly rear up. suggested by feet in the air and are completely bewildered or quite confounded. ওরা হচ্ছে bewildered or confounded, meaning highly upset and wondering what is happening. Even fishes in the lakes, ebar next question, even fishes in the lakes are affected by Bhishma's singing. What do they do? How do they react to the description? Even fishes in the lakes are affected by Bhishma's singing, troubled by his loud, irritating voice. The fishes dive below the lake in frantic search for silence. The description is meant to be amusing. One cannot help laughing at the exaggeration as the poet skillfully builds up a humorous atmosphere. Next, next, what exaggerated situations has the poet depicted earlier in the context? What effect do they create? Earlier in the context, the poet depicted exaggerated situations such as Bhishma's song being heard from Delhi to Burma. এটা একটা exaggerated situation. আরেকটা হচ্ছে পিপল বিং ট্র্যাম্পলড ইন আ প্যানিক রাউট, পিপলরা যে ট্র্যাম্পলড হয়ে যায় প্যানিক রাউটে, অর ল্যাঙ্গুইশিং পেল অ্যান্ড সিকলি তারা, অ্যান্ড স্টিয়ারিং উইথ ফিট ইন এয়ার quite confounded. These exaggerated situations create a comical effect, adding to the humor of the poem, building up a humorous atmosphere. এবার what do the fishes dive below why do the fishes dive below the lake? The fishes dive below the lake because they are troubled by Vishma's loud, irritating voice and are in frantic search for silence. What happens to the trees? Due to Vishma's singing, the very trees collapse and shake, and one can hear the crash a mile hence, মানে from a mile away. Ebar what is amusing about the image of the flying birds in lines 5 to 6? What is amusing about the image of the birds? The feathered flying, lines 5 to 6, is the absurdity of turning turtle or flipping upside down. Turning turtle কথাটার মনে হচ্ছে flipping upside down while they are winging, মানে ওড়ার সময়, birds which are naturally skilled flyers losing control over their wings and tumbling mid-air due to the sound contributes to the comic structure and humorous effect of the poem. Birds which are naturally skilled flyers, they lose control over their wings and they flip upside down. They tumble in the mid-air due to the sound made by Bhishma. What kind, according to you, is the most absurd situation depicted in the poem? While many situations are absurd, the image of the feathered fly or birds turning turtle in the sky while they are winging is particularly absurd because it defines their natural ability to fly with ease. Other highly absurd situation includes the welkin weeping or mighty mansions tumbling due to the song, all contributing to the poem's character as nonsense verse meant to amuse the audience. While all the situations are absurd, কিন্তু যে বার্ডের যে টার্নিং টার্টেল মানে ফ্লিপিং আপসাইড ডাউন, টাম্বলিং মিড এয়ার, এইগুলো হচ্ছে is very absurd while they are winging. It is particularly absurd because it defies their natural ability to fly with ease. Other highly absurd situation ki weeping or mighty mansions tremble due to the song, all contributing to the poem's character as soon as nonsense verse means to amuse. এইবার who are we? Why have they to plead repeatedly with Bhishma to stop singing? We refers to the people, the human listeners who are suffering due to Bhishma's unbearable song, the unbearable singing. They have to plead repeatedly with Bhishma to stop singing because his song causes them great distress, making them feel as if they are going to die. Bhishma has soared beyond their reach, S-O-A-R-E-D, soared beyond their reach, paying no heed to their pleas and grumbles, continuing to sing as he is stubborn fellow who does not listen. Ebar who's badly affected by Bhishma's singing? Many people are badly affected by Bhishma's singing. In this extract, human referred to as we are affected as they cry out in distress. The Wilkin or the sky also affected as it weeps to hear his screech. Mighty mansions are affected by, as they tumble. Throughout the poem, it is shown that his singing also rattles plants and animals like horses, fishes, and birds. Throughout the poem, it is shown that his singing rattles plants and animals, but even trees, animals, horses, fishes, birds, and even mighty buildings are what is personified in the extract. What is the purpose? In the extract, the Wilkin, mane sky, ba heaven, is personified. It is said that the Wilkin weeps to search his screech, mane the sky is given uh, the sky weeps like a human being, like a living creature. The purpose of this personification is to create an intended comic effect and contribute to the comic structure of the poem by humorously exaggerating the extreme and widespread negative impact of Vishma's singing. The purpose of this personification is to create an intended comic effect and contribute to the comic structure of the poem by humorously exaggerating the extreme and widespread negative impact of Bismarck's singing. Next question: in what way are you affected when you read about the fate of humans, animals, even non living things impacted by unpleasant voice of the singer? When reading about the fate of humans, animals, and even non living things impacted by the singer's unpleasant voice, one is affected with amusement. The poem is primarily written to amuse the exaggerated hyperbolic and fantastic situations such as sky weeping or mansions tumbling, and are designed to make the readers laugh or burst into laughter. Who next question, who ultimately stops Vishma from singing and how? Ultimately, a billy goat, described as most sagacious or wise fellow, stops Vishma from singing. The goat stops him by downing its horns, charging straight at Vishma and hitting him. The goat stops him by downing his horns, charging straight at Vishma and hitting him. The strains of Vishma's song are then tossed and whirled by his blast of brutal silence. The strains of Vishma's song are then tossed and whirled by the blast of brutal silence. The singer is tossed up in the air by the violent blow of the goat's horns, thus putting an end to his singing. The strains of Vishma's song are tossed and whirled by the blast of brutal violence. The singer is tossed up in the air by the violent blow of the goat's horn, thus putting an end to his singing. Mane, okay, the strains of Vishma's song are then tossed and whirled by the blast of brutal violence. Kibabe, the singer is tossed up in the air by the violent blow of the goat's horns, thus putting an end to his singing. এইভাবে in what season would one hear Vishmalocha Sarma singing? One would hear Vishmalocha Sarma singing when summer comes. His voice or strain could be caught on hill and plain from Delhi down to Burma, meaning his voice would resound in the hills and valleys across the vast region. Give one reason to conclude that Vishma was passionate about singing. How did people react when they heard his song? One reason to conclude that Vishma was passionate about singing is that he sang as though he had staked his life on it. It seemed as if he had staked his life on it, and though he was hell bent, continued to sing as if he had bet his life on singing. He was hell bent, or he was continuing to sing as if He had bet his life on singing. When people heard his song, they were dazed and retired, amazed, though they knew it was well meant. তারা dazed, retired, amazed কারণ although they knew that his song was well meant মানে harmless. They were trampled in the panic rout or would languish pale and sickly, and they pleaded him to stop his singing quickly. Next question. How did we animals react when they heard Vishmalochan Sarma? Animals reacted strongly to Vishmalochan Sarma's singing. Horses would line the roadside, resent the blare, whine, stare with their feet in the air, and wandered quite confounded. Fishes dived below the lake in a frantic search for silence. The feathered fly or birds would turn turtles while they were winging. Key fishes dived below the lake in a frantic search for silence. The feathered fly or birds would turn turtle while they were winging. After reading the poem, give any three characteristic features that you can associate with Vishmalochan Sarma. Three characteristic features that can be associated with Vishmalochan Sarma are: firstly, he is stubborn, hell-bent on singing. Secondly, he is very loud and discordant singer. এই কথাগুলো very loud, discordant singer whose voice is irritating. Thirdly, he is unconcerned and oblivious to the chaos and distress his singing causes, not bothering about any complaints or requests. Next, how did the world get the golden gift of silence? Mention two ways in which the music helps a person. The world got the golden gift of silence with a wise billy goat downed, D-O-W-N-E-D, downed মানে নিচু করা its horns and charged straight at Vishmalochan Sharma. The goat's bellow answered Vishma's, and the strains of Vishma's song were tossed and whirled by the blast of brutal violence from the goat, thus ending his singing. Two ways in which good music helps a person are that it touches heart and it can be divine, like a gift sent by God, implying it can be emotionally moving and spiritually uplifting or inspiring. But the reverse happens in the case of Vishwalochan Sharma's songs. Ebar multiple choice questions. You catch the stain on heel and plain. What is referred to as his stain? His stain mane Vishwalochan Sharma's singing. What is the genre of the poem? The power of music. Nonsense verse. What kind of person was Vishwalochan Sharma? Stubborn. Which of the following did not happen when people heard Vishmalochan singing? They were able to make him stop singing. Next question. Which figure of speech is used in the line given below? The bullock carts are overturned and horses line the roadside. Hyperbole. Who is referred to as the wretched brutes? The horses. What happens to the wretched brutes on hearing Vishmalochan singing? They raise their feet in the air, they cry out in pain, they wonder what is happening. এই তিনটে জিনিস হয়. What happens to the wretched brutes on hearing Vishmalochan singing? They raise their feet in the air, they cry out in pain, or they wonder what is happening. What happens to birds on hearing Vishmalochan's loud song singing? They lose control over their wings. And the billy goat has been compared to which of the following? Vishmalochan. বিলি গোটের সাথে কাকে তুলনা করা হয়েছে? ভীষ্মলোচনের সাথে. Which of the following grants the golden gift of silence to the world? The goat. Which of the following lines contains the same literary device as one in Shukumar Race? The Wilkin Heki keeps weeps to hear his screech. I leant upon answer. I leant upon a copy's gate when frost was কি spectre grey. কি বলছে? Following lines contain the same literary device. কোন? The Wilkin weeps to hear his screech. এটার সাথে কিসের মিল আছে? I leant upon a copy's gate when frost was spectre grey. এবার reference to the context question. Who is Vishmalochan Sharma? How is he singing? Vishmalochan Sharma is a singer whose powerful singing can be heard from Delhi to Burma. His singing is intense and passionate as if he is singing with his energy and determination. Next question. What does the speaker say about Vishmalochan's continuous singing? The speaker suggests that Vishmalochan's singing is relentless, forceful, Though people find it overwhelming and confusing, they understand that his intentions are good. Though people find his music to be overwhelming, still they understand overwhelming and confusing, still they understand his intentions are good. Although the people get confused on hearing Vishmalochan singing, what do they think about him? What does it suggest? Although the people are confused by his singing, they believe it is well meant. This suggests that Vishmalochan Sharma is sincere and committed to his art, even if his style is hard for others to appreciate. Okay? Though people are confused by his singing, they believe it is well meant. Mane, it is for good. This suggests that Vishmalochan Sharma is sincere and committed to his art, even if his style is hard for others to appreciate. The genre of the poem is satirical. The poet uses exaggeration to comically describe the overwhelming effect of Vishmalochan Sharma's singing on people and nature, enhancing the satirical tone. The genre of the poem is satire. The poet uses exaggeration to comically describe the overwhelming effect of Vishmalochan Sarma's singing on people and nature, embracing the satirical tone. Comically describe করতে গেছে overwhelming effect of Vishmalochan Sarma's singing on people and nature, enhancing the satirical tone. পরের question, who are they referred to in the first line of the extract? What happens to them? They refers to the animals. এই যে they are trampled in the panic rout or languish pale and sickly. Tai they refers to the animals and the people who are affected by Vishmalochan Sarma's singing. They are either trampled in the chaos or become weak and sick. To whom do they plead and why? They plead to Vishmalochan Sarma, begging him to stop singing because his voice is causing them distress and physical discomfort. Despite their in what is the effect of their pleading? What does it suggest about the man whom they plead for? Despite their pleas, Vishmalochan continues to sing, suggesting that he is either unaware or indifferent to the discomfort he is causing others. What is the effect of his singing on animals and birds? Vishmalochan Sarma's singing causes animals to panic and some collapse in fear or confusion. His singing has a disruptive and distressing effect on him. His singing has a disruptive and distressing effect on him, on them. Which poetic device is used in the poem? Why? Give reason. The poet uses hyperbole in the extract, exaggerating the effects of Vishmalochan's singings to create a humorous and satirical tone. The objective of highlighting the absurdity of the situation is achieved through the exaggerated descriptions. The poet uses hyperbole in this extract, exaggerating the effect of Vishmalochan's singing to create a humorous and satirical tone. The objective of highlighting the absurdity of the situation is achieved through this exaggerated description. What was Vishmalochan unconcerned about? What is meant by he goes booming out his broadside? Vishmalochan is unconcerned about the chaos and confusion his singing causes. The phrase he goes booming out his broadside means he continues to sing loudly and forcefully as if launching a powerful attack. তার মানে হচ্ছে he continues to sing loudly and forcefully as if launching a powerful attack. Next, who were the wretched brutes? What did they behave? Why did they behave abnormally? The wretched brutes refer to animals, including horses and other creatures. They behave abnormally because they are distressed by the loud and overwhelming sound of Vishmalochan singing. The wretched brutes refer to animals, including horses and other creatures. They behave abnormally karon they are distressed by the loud and overwhelming sound of Vishmalochan singing. State the three activities done by the wretched brutes on hearing Vishmalochan singing. The wretched brutes whine, stare in confusion, collapse, or flail their legs in the air, FLAIL, flail, এটা দেখতে হবে, flail their legs in the air, overwhelmed by the sound. How are the fishes and the trees affected by Bhishmalochan singing? The fish dive fanatically in search of silence. The trees collapse and shake, causing a loud crash. What happens to the birds in the sky? Do you agree with the speaker of the poem? Give reason to support your answer. The birds turn upside down while flying, unable to maintain their flight due to the overwhelming noise. Whether one agrees with the speaker depends on interpreting the poem as satire. If so, the exaggerated descriptions are meant to be humorous rather than taken literally. কি বলছে birds turn upside down while flying, unable to maintain their flight due to the overwhelming noise. কিছুতে overwhelming noise এর জন্য unable to maintain their flight. Whether one agrees with the speaker depends on interpreting the poem as satire. যে স্পিকারের সাথে agree করবে কি না সেটা ডিপেন্ড করছে how the person interprets the poem as a satire. If so, the exaggerated descriptions are meant to be humorous rather than taken literally. লিটারালি না নিয়ে এগুলোকে হিউমারাস এক্সপ্রেশন হিসেবে নেওয়াই ভালো। Who weeps in the extract and why? Which figure of speech is used in the Wilkin weeps? The Wilkin weeps means the sky weeps because of Vishmalochan Sarma's screeching. The figure of speech used in is personification attributing human emotions to the sky. What happens to the mighty mansions? Which natural object met the same fate as mansions earlier in the poem? The mighty mansions stumbled due to the force of Vishma's singing. Earlier in the poem, the trees met a similar fate, collapsing under the impact of his voice. Mighty mansions stumbled due to the force of Vishma's singing. Earlier in the poem, the poet met a similar fate, collapsing under the impact of his voice. The billy goat is described as a most sagacious fellow because it intelligently takes action to stop Vishma Lochan singing by charging at him. কি billy goat describe করা হয়েছে sagacious fellow হিসেবে because it intelligently takes action to stop Bhishma Lochan singing by charging at him. How does the billy goat, what does the billy goat do which many others could not? How? The billy goat successfully silenced Vishmalochan by physically charging at him, which many others are able to do despite their pleas and sufferings. Ki the billy goat successfully silences Vishmalochan by physically charging at him, physically charge করে ওকে থামালো, which many others were unable to do despite their pleas and sufferings. বাকিরা কিন্তু পারেনি তাদের সাফারিং থাকা সত্ত্বেও। which figure of speech is used in the last line of the extract? The figure of speech in the last line of the extract is metaphor. The golden gift of silence refers to the relief everyone feels when Vishwa finally stops singing. golden গিফটটা মানুষ সবাই পেল when Vishmalochan stops singing. The line emphasizes the value of peace and serenity after the chaos caused by this relentless singer. Additional questions. What effect does Vishmalochan Sharma's singing have on people? People are left dazed and amazed by his singing, even though they understand his intentions are good. People হচ্ছে left dazed, amazed by his singing, even though they understand his intentions are good. How is the geographical scope of Vishma's singing described? His singing can be heard across a vast area from Delhi down to Burma, indicating its far reaching effect. How does Vishma's passion for singing manifest? Vishma sings as though his life depends on it, showing his intense commitment and determination. What do people think of Vishma's singing despite its intensity? While they recognize that his intentions um, are well meant, they still find his singing overwhelming. What is implied about the energy and persistence of Vishma's singing? His singing is portrayed as relentless as he continues even in the face of his astonishment and confusion of the people. His singing is portrayed as relentless as he continues even in the face of the astonishment and confusion the people. His singing is portrayed as relentless. Relentless হিসেবে portrait করা হয়েছে as he continues even in the face of astonishment and confusion. That ফালতু. What role does the billy goat play in the poem? The billy goat, described as wise, charges at Bhishma with force, ultimately putting an end to his singing. The billy goat's charge disrupts Bhishma's singing, finally bringing the chaotic situation to a halt. What is the significance of bellow answering bellow? It suggests that the billy goat's bellow competes with Bhishma's singing in intensity. বিলি গোটের বেলোটা কম্পিট করছে ভীষ্মার সিঙ্গিং মানে ইন্টেন্স সিঙ্গিং ম্যাচিং হিজ ফোর্সফুল সাউন্ড উইথ অ্যান ইকুয়ালি লাউড রেসপন্স ফোর্সফুল সাউন্ডের সাথে কি ম্যাচিং হিজ ফোর্সফুল সাউন্ড উইথ অ্যান ইকুয়ালি লাউড রেসপন্সের সাথে আওয়াজের সাথে থামে কি হোয়াট হ্যাপেন্স টু Bhishma's song as a result of goat's action. The goat's violent charge scatters the song's strains, silencing Bhishma's relentless singing. Ki the goat's violent charge scatters the song's strains. মানে গানের যে সুরগুলোকে সেগুলো স্ক্যাটার করে দিল, সাইলেন্সিং ভীষ্মাস রিলেন্টলেস সিঙ্গিং. How is the end of singing described? Bhishma's silence is described as a golden gift, highlighting the relief and peace that comes with the catharsis er moto effect, shanti, that comes with the cessation of the overwhelming noise. Comes with the cessation, cease hoye jawa, cessation, cessation of the overwhelming noise. Where does the poet say Bhishmalochan Sharma's singing spreads in summer from Delhi to Burma? The tone of the poem can be best described as humorous.